Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to our Israelis. I'm Zeev and Aya, and welcome to our art morning. We're going to talk about, we called it Times of Trouble, implications of October 7 on art and museum in Israel, and actually all over the world, because we're going to hear from Dr. Aya Luria. She has been the director and chief curator of the Herzliya Museum of Contemporary Art since 2014. With an extensive background in curating exhibitions at renowned institutions such as Tel Aviv Museum, the Spielman Institute of Photography, and other regional museums in Israel. Dr. Luria has made significant contributions to the field of visual arts. She has served on numerous judging committees, including the Israel Prize and the Wolf Prize, and has been actively involved in public art committees. I know that she has been involved in organizing the President of Israel, Bougie Herzog, President House. She, as I said, she was chairing the official President's Residence Art Committee. Dr. Luria has also lectured at several academic institutions on museology and art history. Her achievements include receiving curatorial training scholarships in Paris and London. And I must say, Aya is a good personal friend, and thank you so much for doing it for us. And I want to say on another note, every time I come to Israel, I make time to come and see the museum, and I encourage each one of you when you go to Israel to go to the museum. So without further ado, I'm going to leave it to Aya, and later we'll talk to Zeev as well. Aya.
Oh, Aya, you need to unmute, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Orna, and thank you all for sharing with me your time and attention, and for inviting me and Zeev to tell you a bit about this peculiar situation that we found ourselves in since October 7th. So harsh, so stressing, and unbelievable how in so many ways this traumatic event affected our small museum, the Herzliya Museum of Contemporary Art. And we thought it's like a micro ecosystem that could reflect a bit how it is to handle the troubling situation in a public institution dealing with contemporary art. Well, I'll just share my screen. I hope that everybody sees it well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. I will try to talk relatively briefly about the action and the acts, and also a bit about the exhibition that we exhibit since October. And it will take around 20 minutes, and then I'll be more than happy to invite and to share this the stage with the screen with Zeev Engelmeyer, who's one of the most talented creators, illustrators, artists in Israel, who initiated this fantastic and heartbreaking project, A Postcard a Day. So let's start. And very, very briefly, just to demonstrate what we had to cope with. I just want to say that, oh, I'll retry again, sorry. Is it okay now?
We're not seeing the screen. If you could, there we go.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Is it on?
Mm-hmm.
It's on.
Okay, great. So just a few words about the Herzliya Museum. So the museum, is it full screen?
No, can you switch that into full screen?
Let's see. I'll try. No, I'm a bit in a struggle. Here.
It was before, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Not yet.
Is it full screen?
No.
היה before, זה היה, בהתחלה זה היה full screen, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try again, sorry. Yeah, but now I can't.
There you
Okay.
go. You're full
Just
screen
turn it
now.
back on. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
It has to be in presentation mode. Perfect.
There you
Okay.
go.
So just a few words about the Herzliya Museum. It was open to the public on 75, a few years after the Yom Kippur War. The architect Yaakov Rechter used the brutalist style, and you could see that the construction seems very much like a shelter. And what I want to indicate is the fact that even if you deal with art in Israel, contemporary art especially, still the nationalistic and history is bound to be connected so strongly into what we're doing, and nothing is really objective, and everything is connected to everything. To organize this museum, it was initiated by a group of inhabitants of Herzliya who donated works from their own private homes, addressed the municipality, and said, we want a museum in our city. And with the municipality, they invited the architect, and then they thought to assemble two functions in this museum. The first thing would be a commemoration room, and then on the other rooms, there will be spaces for changing art exhibition for the program. So you could see that every person who entered the historical museum had to go through this commemoration room. So nothing is really is detached from the story of those who we all need to remember their sacrifice, whether they were soldiers or victims of terror attack. All of the names are printed on this glass boards that you could see. You can't see the name very well because of the quality of the photograph, unfortunately. But I have to tell you that when I entered my position 10 years ago, we had two sheets of glasses were completely empty, and now we almost fill them completely. So just to understand that to have this ongoing struggles is part of our life at the museum. Well, since then the museum changed, and it was enlarged. Nowadays we don't enter through this memorial room. Now we have an autonomous entrance directly to the museum halls. And the museum is function, as you can see, as every cultural contemporary institutions, full of exhibitions, openings, performances. We have an education wing, music, dance, everything connected to the ongoing exhibition program. Well, since October 7th, everything was frozen, unfortunately. We had to shut down the museum, and we have to reorganize. You know, it pushed me back to the corona. We had to invent again safety regulations, so people in the time of alarm could find a safe place to secure themselves. So for a week, we were under organized regime and reopened because the public really needed somewhere to go to. I have to remind you that schools were shut down as well. And some of the schools, for Herzliya, for example, didn't have shelters in their facilities. So we actually received groups of pupils into this brutalistic beton structure because we are so shelterly-like, and actually hosted pupils that established their own schools inside the museum facility. I don't know if any other contemporary art museum had to face this kind of reality, but we adjusted quite quickly. And you could see here the school children are actually, continue their program. We also, of course, had to initiate a Zoom program to work with children at home that were too young to go to school, and to people who had to be at home from that reason or another. Again, all those are methods that we learned through COVID, how to cope and how to continue work under a very strict regulation of safety and forbidden people to go out and gather to. So you could see here some of the artists and curator of then exhibition that dealt with illustration method. Broadcasters through Zoom gave lectures and all kinds of activities to people outside. Another important thing, for the wide public, the museum was closed, but we accepted closed groups. Why is that? Because closed group could be accompanied to the shelter. So people were registered as groups, mainly organized groups. Well, mostly, unfortunately, those who had to evacuate their own communities, their own homes, their own places, first from the south, then from the north, and we received them. And I have to tell you that at the beginning, they were all a bit exhausted and wanted something really light and very short. And then as time went by, they said it's like oxygen. And again, the feeling of Corona resonated, because also back then, the isolation really made the museum as a true option to gather the community together and to feel relatively safe being together. So in here you could see the special activities that the education wing organized for those who had to evacuate, and suddenly to find yourself in a hotel in a strange city, and have to make the children do something and to organize the family and reorganize again. So suddenly the museum fulfilled a very necessity need. So not only for inspiration or relaxation or challenging critically all kind of ideas that are in the center of cultural discourse, we actually had to activate and to give some solutions to the people needs, not in a formal way, in a more unconventional, more cultural way, and it was done. Also, group of children with special needs, we really tried to work with a very variety of communities, and you could see here a very interesting case that I want to share with you. We work in the past few years with the Arab speakers community in Israel. We trained Arab speakers docents who work with their own communities. And of course, we thought, I have to tell you, that after October, the entire year that is already being settled a year ahead with buses, with docents, with activity, everything would be canceled. We thought that strong feelings of fear and intimidation would be much stronger with those communities. I have to tell you that not only that the full demand for this activity was complete, we received 50% new reservation if we have spare place, if they could accept us, if we could accept them for more activities. It's a really high number of those kind of approaches, and I think it's part of a method that we have to listen to, of something that this community is telling us, that they also seek for a safe place for assemble their community and to start a dialogue in a more safe and complex way, but also inspirational, that could ease stress, embarrassment, and fear also from their behalf. I know that it's in Hebrew, but I want to tell you, and you probably recognize the images, Anna Frank on one hand, and a Holocaust survivor on the other hand. Those two were projects that two artists, illustrators, Michel Kishka and David Polonsky, created two diaries. Suddenly we had to adjust the entire program to the situation, and we asked, how do you illustrate war? Because those two artists created this illustrated diaries, following the diary of Anna Frank, the diary of the father of Michel Kishka, who was a Belgian Holocaust survivor. So how to adjust this comics, very, you know, childish, naive, maybe like happy medium into the most stressful and hard topics. And I want to just few more minutes just to show you another perspective concerning October, the horrible act that was performed through October. Niv Tishby project was created 3 years before it was on display, before October, because we are working 3 years ahead on the program that we're presented. He called this project the Carnival, and it was for us more connected to the rallies protesting against what happened in Israel, the act of changing the political and legal system here. But Niv Tishby didn't even refer to this specific event. He created his own rally. And then when we entered the museum in October, after October 7th, we just, you know, got stabbed in the stomach, because we said, come on, we can't let people see those images. They are so specific. They are so horrible. They are shouting the cries that we all feel, that what happened during October 7th. The mothers who are crying, the babies who are already soldiers, the tanks, everything, and shouting without voices, the fountains that keep running blood in a never-ending cycle. It's like reality got ahead of us. And I have to tell you that this is the power of art. The art is there. The cry is there. The existentialistic status is what we're experiencing through time and unfortunately onward. But our perspective has changed, and we suddenly found ourselves in this project. Well, I was very, very honored to have Zeev presenting in another project at the museum. And during Hanukkah, he agreed to share with us a frieze of Postcard a Day. Very soon he will tell you all about it, and is since then also became very active, a real activist with the families of those who've been kidnapped to Gaza. And just to show you how the entrance of the museum, it was the first time ever I presented something on the walls outside the museum. And I felt that I had to work also in the public sphere. Nowadays, we are also hosting this unique project that commemorate what happened in Be'eri, in Kibbutz Be'eri, during October 7th. It's not art, but it's highly fine curated. Actually, two of the girls from Be'eri decided to pick up the plants there, and also you could see the rooftops that was burned, and created this plantation. Also did this research about the botanical source of each and every plant that was located at the entrance of each family, and in a small booklet they gathered together the botanical story of each plant. Those are the most typical and common plants, home plants that you could see in every garden in Israel, in every home flat in Israel, but also what happened to their specific family during October. And it's actually really shivering to see how those two roots were connected. So as you can see, we address what happened in all kind of ways. And I want also just to finish this speak by saying that the contemporary art world, just like the academia, we are facing a very difficult situation. We already received a cancellation of an exhibition that was planned from artists abroad, and we were we had this fantastic collaboration with the fantastic curator Natanja van Dijk, originally from Rotterdam, now from Amsterdam, and she actually felt quite intimidated, and unfortunately couldn't come to the opening of the exhibition that she worked with Haviv Kaptzon after working for 3 years with him on this project. I just want to show you how at the entrance of Herzliya, just under the Herzl statue that was created by Uri Lifshitz, there is a big poster. We are all waiting for you, and bring them home. So also the public sphere is really well addressed, as well as those set tables that you all probably witnessed and heard of, also in Herzliya, of course, in front of the Tel Aviv Museum of Art and other main places. And just to finish, you mentioned my involvement in the presidential residence. So you could see here that they had created this tribute to Kibbutz Be'eri art gallery, and that was burned completely. You could see how she was after October, and they documented the exhibitions there, the curatorial act, and invited the curators and the artists who exhibit there, and put them all through around the presidential residence. So this is in a very short review what we have experienced and what we had to deal with. And I'm sure that I don't know any art director of contemporary art museum in the world that had to face this kind of acts, and I hope they'll never will. And I hope that we could end, that we will experience the end of it very soon. Thank you.
Aya, thank you so much. I'm in awe. It's incredible. It's like they say that really the museum gives us a mirror and also lens into everything that's happening in the country. And it's like aspaklaria. That word comes to my mind. Now, when you mentioned so I just want to have a quick let people know about Ze'ev. So Ze'ev is an artist, illustrator, comic book artist. He's a teacher at Bezalel, and he published national and over the years, alternative press over the years. He also he has a retrospective book that illustrates work, and it's called Am Oved. It was published by Am Oved, and it's called Journey to Bulgaria. And I think Zev maybe will give us a little bit background history of what he did during the demonstrations. He created this image called Shoshka. And I think you saw it in one of the pictures when Aya saw it was on the left, this image with this wig, yellow wig. And it was And then after October 7, it changed and it created some amazing dialogue with the hostages, with the rest of the country. I don't want to say too much because I want to leave time for Zeev to tell us everything, what he has been doing and of his work. So Zeev, please. Thank you.
Zeev, you're on mute.
Mute.
Let me see if I can unmute him.
Okay.
There we
Zeev,
go.
בסדר.
Okay. Okay. Do you see it full screen now?
Not
No,
yet.
not
Okay.
There we go.
Now,
Perfect.
yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you very shortly about what I did before all this started. For many years, I was an illustrator for magazines and newspapers. I worked for years in Israel's largest newspaper then, Yediot Achronot, which is on the left. 15 years I did their covers and illustrated articles. On the right, you see a newspaper that existed in Israel during the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s. It's called Hadashot. It was an amazing platform to work in because it was very free and it tried new things in illustration and visual. It was the first time that a newspaper gave such a big place to illustrations. And this is another example of what I did. During the years, I did animation for television. I did lots of newspaper works. I did some books. And this is an example of a commercial I did for Strauss. It's for the ice cream.
מאז ומתמיד חששו הישראלים מאכילת גלידה בחורף. למרות שהחורף הישראלי נמשך כ3.5 שניות בממוצע ומתאפיין בטמפרטורות של קיץ אירופאי, עדיין חוששים הישראלים מפני אכילת גלידה בעונה זו של השנה. יש הסבורים כי חשש זה נובע מהמתיחות הגלובלית, או מחוסר התאמה בין גלידה לחמין, שהוא המאכל החביב על ישראלים בחורף. אך לאחר מחקרים שלא נערכו מעולם, הגיעו מדענים למסקנה כי אכילת גלידה הינה בטוחה לחלוטין גם בחורף הישראלי.
ולמה אתם חושבים שכדאי לאכול גלידה בחורף? כנסו לעמוד הפייסבוק של גלידת שטראוס ותוכלו לזכות בגלידה מתנה.
So this is done with a technique that I really like called collage, which is gluing pictures together. Do you see the book I'm holding now? Do you see it? No?
No.
Okay, so it's okay. So it's an Agadah, Passover Agadah. Okay, so for many years I did this, and then about 7 years ago I started, I made an exhibition in a Tel Aviv museum, and for the opening I wore a comic book heroine that I drew called Shoshke. It's a woman that is, she's naked, and she's always naked in the comics, and her nakedness is it's not sexual in any way. It's more the way she is in the world, and she goes like this, and people have to accept how she is. And then for the opening, I decided that it's my opportunity. After years, I drew her to be myself, Shoshke. And for the last few years, I was Shoshke, and I became a performer. I wasn't before a performer. I became a performer, and after 2 years, I started doing activist acts. And this is, for a couple of years, this is what I did. and I got lots of attention. I was one time not arrested, להיעצר. I was
You were arrested.
investigated by the police and as Shoshke, and it got worldwide publicity, and it even got into a UN a report that they make once a year about freedom of speech. And I got into the list of Israel's 100 most influential people. I was 100th place in this list as Shoshke. And then this is how it caught me like into this activist act. And then came the 7th of October. And in the morning, like everybody around me, it was a shock that it's very hard to describe. It's like an earthquake. It was something that it changed the way we think about our country, our army, our society. It's so strong. And in the first day, the first thing I drew was my daughter was really worried, and I drew this coupon that says it's a hug coupon, like to say to her that everything will be all right. And then I drew a picture, which is this one. I drew it with a pencil on this table that I'm sitting here now, right now. And I drew it by hand, and it was after the Guernica of Picasso. And it was because of the pictures we saw all this day that were very violent, very difficult. And I think of it also because of the shock I had to rely on something, and I relied on this picture by Picasso. And then for days, I painted with pencil, black and white pictures. And it was very different from what I did before, because my newspaper work and books work is usually I draw by hand, but I color with the computer. And so it's very different. And all the works I did, all illustrations or drawings are by hand. And after 2 weeks, I drew the first drawing with colors. And I drew Kibbutz Be'eri. And afterwards, in the beginning, I wrote Kibbutz Be'eri, but then I changed it. And I drew a kibbutz. And I drew it like beautiful, like a kibbutzim were in the 50s or 60s, with red roofs and lots of plantation, very naive and pastoralia. And I drew it after, I have many books, children books from the 50s and 60s, and also posters by Franz Krauss, which was a designer that he had these images of a kibbutz. So it's very, very peaceful, and I wrote under something terrible is about to happen. And this was the first colorful drawing I made. And one day after this, I drew the only painting that I drew the terrible thing that happened. It was very difficult for me to draw. It took me a couple of hours, and in these hours I was very much into the violence. And this is the painting. And after I drew it, I looked at it, and I saw more visuals that kept on coming of violence from what is going on in the South. And I decided that I don't want to draw this, because we have so much of it. And we had in those days so much violence in everywhere you looked at, like in the social media. Everything was filled with pictures that were terrible. And I felt that we need something else. and I want to create something else. And then there was a rainbow in Tel Aviv. There was some rain and there was a rainbow in Tel Aviv. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, wow, it would be so great if the kidnapped children from Gaza that are now in Gaza could just slide on the rainbow to Tel Aviv. And I drew it in a very naive style, very colorful. And I think in all those days, I really drew as I can say it was almost like a self, I really wanted to be not connected to the media all the time, but I didn't want to להתנתק, to escape, to escapism. I didn't want to see movies or something. I wanted to still be in it, and these drawings let me be in this, but without being connected to the media all the time. And then I drew, I think it was my only work that was colored by computer and not by hand. I drew a map, which I called the Hope Map, with the Sea of Optimism, Mountains of Love, help with homework, and many things, nice things that I saw around, like coming to see the wounded ones, many citizen התנדבויות,
volunteered
of solidarity, and helping in the fields, picking tomatoes, many things like this. And I put it in my social media, and people really liked it because it was days that were so difficult that I think we were really, we wanted something that we can חמלה,
could express some compassion, and
Yeah.
Ze'ev is modest. Thousands and thousands of people followed him through the net.
And many schools started asking me, schools and other public buildings asked me for this map, and I made 4 maps. So they asked me for the maps to hang it on the places, to print it. And then Israeli Culture Ministry, משרד החינוך והתרבות, asked me to send, the Education Ministry asked me to send it to all students in Israel from grade 7 to grade 12 with a page of questions that the students had to make their own map and think of their own good things we can do. And I had many examples of this. And then a couple of days after, I drew the first kidnapped person, which is Yafa Adar, that you see in the center. Yafa was kidnapped, and I think everybody in Israel knows the picture. She was taken with a Kalnoit, this vehicle, by Anshei Hamas, by Hamas terrorists, and they were all around her with their guns. It was a very difficult picture, and she was taken by them. And I took this picture and I drew her coming back from captivity, and exactly on the same composition I drew, but instead of the Hamas, I drew this woman dancing around her, making flowers in the air, and even the vehicle is covered with love and colors. And by coincidence, I drew it and put it in the social media. and it was 4 days after this was published. Yafa Adar got released from being hostage 4 days after. In the first time that they made a deal of exchanging hostages, and this because it was such a short time after. On the day she got free, I got many letters from families of kidnapped people to draw their family members. And it still continues till today. Still continues every day. And this is the helicopter that took Yafa Adar in the first day when they came. After 2 weeks I drew this, I started calling them daily postcards, and I made every day one postcard. There were few days that I made 2, like this day, with the helicopter, because after I drew this helicopter, I noticed that there was another helicopter of Thailandish people that were kidnapped, and I drew them also. And this is Avigail. She's a child that was orphaned on the 7th. Both her parents were murdered. And I drew her on the day she came back with many children that are happy. Also very naive style. It's all these pictures are, I think they're happy and sad. She got released, but it's also very sad. And for me myself, it was a surprise to see that the colors can be emotional, and the colors can be also sad, and they're not necessarily happy. And this is Gali. Gali is a 14-year-old girl that got kidnapped. When she got kidnapped, her brother was murdered. And when she was released with a helicopter, and her mother, that her name is Reuma, came to meet her. And it was like an organized ceremony, and the people that were released had to walk toward the families. But Gali, that she's very sportish girl, she just went down from the helicopter and she ran to her mother so fast that nobody could stop her. She just ran for a hug. And I watched the video and I wanted to draw the second or less than a second before the hug, like את הכמיהה, the way they're longing for each other before the hug. So I made the hands much longer. And Gali's mother came to meet her with a doll of Pikachu. So I drew it also. And Gali was the first hostage that I met at her home. This is Gali, and between us is the original Pikachu that was with them when she got released. And I came to Gali and gave her as a present the drawing. And this was the first meeting with the family with a family, and I can say that the families I met since then, איך אומרים השראה, are inspiring. Gali's mother, Reuma, and her father, they had a son that was murdered, but when she was kidnapped, they decided, they put את האבל, the grief,
Mourning.
they postponed it. They were so much into releasing Gali that only when she came back from being hostage, they ישבו שבעה, they set this 7 days grieving her brother, which is amazing. Okay, this is, we'll show you a couple of examples of what happened was after Yafa Adar, people started asking me to draw the relatives. So it became every day I'm putting the letter that daughters or sons or fathers or mothers or relatives and friends are writing to me, and I draw it. And this is an example. Alex Danzig is a very, very educated scholar. He's one of the first guys that initiated traveling to Poland to the concentration camps. And he wrote many articles, and his daughter wrote to me about him, about his achievements in the academic fields. And then one of the sentences said that he also liked to walk barefoot in the fields around the kibbutz. And this is what I drew. I drew him coming back barefoot in the fields. And he's still a hostage. These are the 3 Omers, also from a letter that a relative wrote me. There are now 3 Omers that are hostages, Omer Shem Tov, Vankart, and Omer Neutra. And I met the parents. And this is the parents of Omer Shem Tov. It's very, very difficult to say what they are going through. It's so hard.
The dialogue is actually more to bring more awareness to their loved ones, and that we won't forget, and that we will keep stressing, right? This is the source of this activist work that you do, those meetings, this engagement.
I can say that all this is so different from what I did before, because I always wanted, I like very much nonsense. And this book I made, Travel to Volgari, is all nonsense. It's not connected and not, I always thought of myself as an artist that really wants to be free and very wild. And since the war started, I'm really, I have an aim, and I feel that every day that I draw these stories, I understand the importance of doing it every day. And even in days like yesterday, I started drawing, I think, after 2 o'clock at night. And I just started drawing the daily postcard. But I'm doing it every day because I understand the importance of it.
The commitment, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is Carmel Gat. Carmel is from a kibbutz Be'eri, and she came back from India a few days before the 7th, and she a woman that came back from being hostages told about her teaching them to do yoga and meditation. So I drew her teaching yoga in captivity. Of course, it didn't look like this, but I made it like a yoga lesson. And her father asked me for the painting. And this is her father and me. And I drew her again about 2 weeks ago. I drew a portrait of her. Yeah, for her birthday. Naama. Naama, there was a terrible filming of her taking hostage, violent, very, very scary. Her mother is doing all she can to release her. She's a doctor and she's going around the world and flying and speaking. And they have to be so strong. And not knowing what happens to them is so, so difficult. From Kibbutz Be'eri, they invited me for a private visit with kibbutznikim that live in Be'eri, in one of the houses of a family called Haran. They are a family of Dudu Geva, which is a very famous illustrator and artist in Israel that I love very much. And for a couple of years, we worked together in some projects. And in their house, because they're relatives, they had 7 pictures, original pictures of Dudu Geva. And this is what was left from the pictures. And it was a picture of a king from Andersen stories. And this is in one of the family's houses. Do you see the upper side of the picture? What you see is from the salon of a house of a family. They had a sculpture made of iron on the wall after a picture that was taken of them. It was from iron חוט ברזל, wire, and their house was burnt. And this sculpture all melted to the ground. And what stayed on the wall is what you see here, which is like a rishum pecham, it's like a drawing almost.
Like a chalk.
Yeah, it reminded me also of things in Pompeii. And I took a picture of it, and I came back to Tel Aviv, and I drew this picture after the picture that I took. I drew the colorful picture of the family sitting in the kibbutz. These are 3 boys that were 17 years old. They went to Chof Zikim, the beach of Zikim, to fish together on Saturday morning, and all the 3 were murdered. And I drew them. In each story that I get, I'm trying to find an image that is, in a way, even though it's very tragic, I'm trying to find a way to draw it in, I don't know if optimistic, but in a way that is comforting, maybe, or soothing. And so I drew them sitting on the moon, fishing the stars. And the parents of Tal from Netiva Asara, near Zikim, came to take the picture. And his mother wrote me that every day she's standing and looking at it and crying. And this is a family called Family Kutz. A very beautiful family. The father made a festival of kites.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Eve, I just want to say that today at 11 o'clock, actually the same time in Central Park, New York, they're having a festival, like get together from for the people, Israelis, Americans, to kites, to have the festival of kites for this family. It's incredible that you're showing us this image now from all of your images.
And so he made this festival, and it's Kites for Peace. And on this Saturday, they had this festival. they were before the festival. And Livnat, the mother, she had, it's called Beit Melacha. It's a working place for all people from around the places, and many Bedouins came and kibbutznikim, and all the family was murdered. And about a week and a half ago, I met the whole family. They invited me for an event, private event that they made. And this is the family. These are the parents on the right and the left. The parents of Aviv Putz. And also the sister.
We only have a few minutes left.
Okay, so I'll be fast. This is Kachko, the man of the penguins. He grew in Kfar Aza, and this is the family. So I'll be faster. These are the mefunim, the people that are evacuated from their homes. Mishpachat Bibas. I want to go on because I want to show. These were very difficult paintings to paint. Like this, Bat Zug of a kidnapped boy. She wanted me to draw a Gagua, longing.
The wife, yeah.
So okay, I'll go on. These are from the army. I'll go on because I want to show you. This is a very sad story. And this is Omer Neutra, a lonely soldier from New York that came to Israel. Okay, it's Louis that got released. I made him making pizza, and here is Louis and Clara. Okay, it's Liora, her mother. Okay, I'll show you some things that were done with the postcards. These are beers that a brewery of beers asked me to make beers from the postcards, and from the selling goes to the kibbutzim of the Otef Aza. I like the project because it makes it nocheach, it makes it present in places that are not the usual places you would see the postcards, and the idea of the kidnapped. Museon Herzliya, Aya called me. It was the first place that I have about 20 exhibitions right now, but I'm having many exhibitions around in Israel and in many places in the world, especially Italy and Australia and United States also. And Aya called me while I was 5 days in Sofia and asked me if to show the postcards on the museum. This is an example of one school, Leyada in Jerusalem, that they put in the corridor the postcards. This is another school in Netanya that put it on the building. This is in Jerusalem these days, or many places in Jerusalem, and each week they print more postcards of the kidnapped. It's many places in Jerusalem. It's very important so that people are reminded of the kidnapped. And many people that see it now are not the usual people that would see it, like many Orthodox see it. This is an exhibition in Timișoara in Romania. And this is in Luano in Italy. This is the Pope getting one of the postcards as a present from Israeli ambassador Rafi Kotz. This was shown on Italian television, and since then I'm getting offers to exhibit it in amazing places in Italy. A week ago it was in Carrara, which is the city where Michelangelo got his marble, and in a palace from the 15th century. This is the postcard the Pope got.
It says they're still there.
They're still there, yeah. Okay. Okay, we made it. Okay, so it continues to these days. I think it's maybe the most emotional I can't even understand what I'm into, because it's so much. I can give you an example. I was offered by an American director. I was offered to make animation for a feature, for not an animated movie, but a movie that animation was in it. And I understood that if I'll do it, I won't be able to make these daily postcards, because it's such a total project, and I didn't take it. I'm telling it because I'm so much into it. This is the most important thing I think I'm doing now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ze'ev,
you.
thank you so much.
I just want to say, Orna, I want to say in front of your friends, if I may, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Orna, and to Jeffrey for your warm friendship, and to gather all your friends together and paying attention and being able to share with you all what we are experiencing. And Orna, thank you again for being such a warm and generous friend to the Herzliya Museum.
So I just want to thank both of you. I'm so touched. I've been to the museum. I've seen the last show that Aya put up, and I saw the exhibit of the Be'eri and the sky. If you know, there was a picture there that you saw kids in a big hall and there were sculptures. This is the exhibit that's happening now. And it's interesting because that exhibit, it's trees. And there is a lot of color in the other exhibits. And when I look at Ze'ev's work, especially what you showed us, that they have your images now on the walls in Jerusalem and everywhere in the country. When we are used to seeing the hostages, they're all in gray colors. What you brought color into those images, and for me, color is hope. And besides the fact that it still keeps in people's mind, it's really the hope that everything will be okay. And I think together we'll work on it to be okay. And last note is I've been to it when I was in Israel. Besides visiting Aya, I also visited Ze'ev, and each one of you, I bought some of the postcards, and it was so hard to pick because each one of them have a story, and it touches you in a way that nothing else can touch. And I think that's the power of art, and that's why I wanted to bring this lecture to all of us. And during the Zoom, I got so many texts from people. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I want to hear. So it's going to go for more people, and more will hear about it. So thank you, both of you. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who came on.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
I was,
It was amazing.
If anybody has any questions, please, we can go a little bit longer.
yeah. And Orna, I just want to say that I am so grateful that you brought this to the Federation's attention and introduced us to Aya and Ze'ev. I have been completely moved, and I know you and I were messaging, and unbelievable. The words really are really incredible, moving. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was so beautiful and emotional for me. I want those postcards to be everywhere, but everywhere. And we need to talk about it offline. How do we get it to at least to Westport and some places in New York? It's so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.